if I have to use something else. Still loading.
All right, I think we're on.
All right.
Perfect. Let's go.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to another episode of the Wall Street Rundown. Sorry we're being late today. We had a couple of things to take care of, so sorry for the delay.
That's yeah. I apologize for the tardiness. That's definitely on me.
No, you're all good, man. You're all good. So today, Wednesday, February 19th, you see the stock market kind of ran up a little bit. And we actually closed on a record high again, like 2 days in a row. The S&P rose by 0.2%. The Dow
Hold on,
Jones,
real quick.
you can see it.
Audio just went off. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. All right.
So, so,
I, go
so
ahead.
the Dow Jones is up also. Nasdaq is up. So we had a lot of good stuff happening today. The one thing I want to talk about today is the Federal Reserve decision. Because the minute came out today, I want to get your input on that. But before we do that, again, guys, what we do here is we give you guys our opinion and things that we see in the market. This is not illegal. This is not an investment advice or trading advice. So trade on your own. We just gotta kind of give you what we see, and then you can kind of come up with your own analysis from there. So just want to put that disclaimer out there because don't come out here blaming us when you blow your port. But we are almost 4 for 4 this whole week, man. So I don't know. We shall see. But yeah, let me get your input on that Federal Reserve decision, man. I don't know if you get a chance to look at the minutes or get any like snippet on it, but yeah, give me
Yeah.
your
So, I,
input on that.
so I, I, I took a look at some of the highlights, and what I think it confirms for me, we're probably not going to see any rate cuts this year. If we see one, I think we probably just get one.
Just one, okay.
Because I think what the Federal Reserve is trying to do is, as certain policies are being implemented, they're trying to see how that's going to affect the inflation numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, there's really no clear, information to say, okay, if this happens and we're expecting this, if this happens and we can expect this. So what they're doing is they're just looking at the data and saying, well, there's a lot of variables going on.
Right.
We don't know exactly what's going to happen. We just have to wait. So we don't want to prematurely cut rates without really understanding or knowing what the full impact of tariffs or, the labor market is going to look like over the next couple of months. So they don't want to make any prejudgments. I think that's smart because the worst thing you can do, again, is to do what Volcker did way, way back in the day, which was cut rates and then have to raise rates again. So holding, I think, is the safe thing to do. And I'm in that camp that I'm agreeing with them on that. Now, with that being said, I really don't think we're going to see any rate cuts. If we get one, it probably won't be until the October or December meeting. That's just my take on that.
I mean, I agree with you. Like we don't really know what the impact of the tariffs just yet. So even when we
Mm-hmm.
look at that, you know, one rate cut, we still don't know, right? We don't even know if there's going to be a cut. It might be another hold, or the worst case scenario is another raise, So we don't know. So until we see how this whole inflation, I mean, this whole tariff impact inflation, I think we can kind of get a better idea. Speaking of tariff, Trump put another 25% tariff on automobiles, semiconductors, and pharmaceutical. And I think that kind of threw off some stocks a little bit toward the end. So wanted to get your input on that because we've seen few stock kind of just drop out of nowhere. And I want to talk about SMCI because we literally was chatting about it. I was like, we should short this shit. The next thing you know, that thing dropped like $12, man. Like not even an hour after we finished talking. So wanted to get your input on that and see how did you feel about those tariffs, especially like on automobiles and pharmaceutical and stuff. Surprisingly, I didn't see the healthcare sector react too much. I didn't even check to see if they're up to date or not, but I didn't see
So
them
the
react much to that.
so the tariffs that he announced, are they going into effect, or is it a I'm going to do this type of thing? Because I was not I heard the messaging, but I wasn't sure if there was like there was an exact like, okay, this is getting implemented right away, or this is getting implemented at some point. So I missed the
I think
messaging
he
behind that.
recommended. I think he recommended a 25% tariffs on those things. Now there was no dates on when it's going to be impacted. Who's the which country is going to be affected? It looks like it's just product based at this time, but not necessarily any country specific.
Gotcha. See, the thing that I don't like is that, okay, if you're gonna implement a tariff, or if you're giving a country some time to figure things out, to me, you have to give people clear direction on how you plan to impose it. Hey, I need to have XYZ done by this date. If it's not done by this date, then we're looking
Right.
at doing this. So we still haven't gotten any news about the extension that Canada and Mexico got, and whether or not that's going to go into effect next week at the end of the month. So the way I've taken it, at least from what I've seen so far this year, is that the initial tariff talk is usually a negotiating tactic,
Right.
right? To bring people to the table to start to talk about what could happen if this, and this doesn't happen. So whether or not something gets done or not, we'll just have to wait and see. But I personally would not be surprised if, you know, we don't see any sort of agreement done over the next couple of weeks and we start to see the implementation of tariffs.
Yeah.
And the thing that sucks is that these things don't have to go through Congress. Like they can happen like
Yeah. The president can
immediately.
decide,
Or
Yeah.
so there's lots of unknowns there. And even though the market has made a new high, so we looked at QQQ today, made a new high. SPY made a new high today. I still think that there's a lot of uncertainty and friction. And you sent me something today that I also want to discuss is those large VIX out of the money call purchases that we've seen over
Yep.
the last three trading days.
Yep.
So there's been some big bets on volatility that we're expecting volatility to increase.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't necessarily put my finger on when that's going to happen or what the catalyst is going to be because we don't have a Fed meeting in February. Our next Fed meeting is not until March 19th, where everyone's expecting the Fed to hold. So I don't know if people are expecting, very hawkish language when that comes or what people are sort of gearing up for, but there's a lot of big bets, and we saw this back in December. Big bets on
That thing,
potential,
yeah.
yeah, on potential volatility spike in the near future. So we'll see. Because I think a lot of the calls I've seen have been around I think it's the March 18th expiration, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So
Yep. So it's I think I want to say it's probably has to do something with the president, honestly, because there is no economic because everybody's gonna understand like the Fed is not gonna make any crazy decision right now. So typically that's like
mhm.
the thing, right? We understand that the economy might be a little unsettled right now because of all these tariffs and stuff, even though nothing official came out for the tariff. The only thing I can think about is a there's maybe a planned something's going on with the different countries. I mean, we see the negotiation with Ukraine and all that stuff's coming out of that. I don't know how's that going to affect our market. There is, some communication with Europe. Some maybe there might be some tariffs going to Europe, whatever. So I think it's going to be something that has to do with the government doing something. So I don't know if it's going to be necessarily be like economy is not doing good or something like that.
So the one thing I will say is this. So we had the consumer spending numbers that were down um last week. Was that last week? Yeah, it was down last week.
Yeah.
We get GDP numbers next week. I think GDP reports on the 27th, and then we get PCE on the 28th.
Okay.
So if GDP starts to show that growth is slowing down, that's not a good sign.
Mm-mm.
So I will be really interested because another thing you have to keep in mind is, I think 66% or at least 60% of GDP is consumer spending.
Yep.
If that number's coming down, there's possibly a good chance that the GDP numbers or projections could also come down. So if that's the case, obviously that's not a good sign for future growth.
Mm.
And we'll have to see how the market or if the market will react to those numbers. Because again, I'm not in the camp of like, I'm not in the camp of being like extremely bearish on the markets. I'm probably in the camp of being a little bit more cautious
Right.
and, not trying to, especially when we start trading around all-time highs and we're kind of seeing friction in those areas, not trying to position size too large at these areas, possibly wait for a good pullback if we get one, and then looking at opportunities to, buy that. Because we saw today, buyers came in, buy the dip folks came in today because it looked
But
like we was going to have a red day. Then we had a, pretty decent recovery. And then when the minutes came out from the Fed, market shot up.
yep.
And I'll also add that yields came down today. So a lot of mixed signals, I would say, over the last couple of days.
Absolutely. Yes.
So I'm being more cautious as far as where I pick my spots.
I mean, I definitely agree. We've seen a lot of mixed signals and stuff. That's why I was like, and I think we talked about this before. This is going to be a um a stock picker market. You have to figure out what stock is not going to be impacted by all this crazy stuff that's happening, right? So, for example, today when um the government announced that they're going to do some cuts, right, in contract that they do with the different companies, you see PLTR drop because they are a big the government is big one of their biggest customers. So you see
Yep.
that drop also from there. So it's like now, does that necessarily impact every single company? No, right? It impacts specific companies that you're gonna have to kind of keep an eye on. So it's definitely gonna become a stock picker market where you just like you have to focus on certain things. And you're right. Every time we have a sellout, like it seems like the buyers just show up out of nowhere and they just like buy everything back up. And I was like, oh my God, like we are not getting those 2, 3, 4, 5 days of just constantly just dropping. We get like one
Correct.
drop, big drop, buyers comes in, and
Yeah.
we keep seeing that. I don't know when the exhaustion gonna happen. That they're like, all right, forget it. We're just gonna sell, but I don't know. So
I was also doing some digging and I kind of went down the rabbit hole of looking at past history. And what Doge is trying to do with Trump in office is obviously the message is we're trying to get rid of government waste. And if
mm,
you go back in history and you look at the last president who implemented something very similar, Bill Clinton. So
mhm.
if we go back to the first year of the Clinton administration, Clinton was big on making government smaller.
Well,
And if you're not familiar with what he did, Bill Clinton got rid of 330,000 government jobs.
shoot.
330,000. I think it was a little bit more over that. But in that process of getting rid of government waste and making them more efficient, unemployment went down from 7.3% to 4%. He
Mm,
balanced the budget, and that was the last time we ever saw a government surplus.
I'm sorry. Yes.
So now, during that time, one of the things that did help is that was also during the dot-com boom. So the private sector was booming. So a lot of these government employees who got laid off, I'm assuming that they found jobs in the private sector, which is why we didn't see a huge spike in unemployment during Clinton's administration,
Which makes sense.
which makes sense. We also saw inflation was relatively low. I want to say taxes for middle class Americans was relative, I think got cut. I want to say he probably taxed more of the high income earners. So if you go back and study what he did, Clinton got rid of a lot of government jobs.
Mm.
I don't know, and I'm assuming that Doge is trying to implement something
Something
similar
similar.
to
Yep.
what they saw in Clinton's administration. Now, I will say this: Clinton's process seemed a little bit more structured. There was a process. Him and Al Gore really went in with like a plan,
Yeah.
and they really started to I mean, they started to see results. I think after the first like year or the first 2 years, and he was able to get the votes needed to make these changes. And when they saw the progress, I mean, if you go, I mean, I think I saw a video. Somebody kind of, it was a 42-minute video. It's pretty long, and I watched it. And I also remember studying this in econ of the whole process of what they did, and they cut a lot of jobs. So the question I have is, if Doge is trying to do something similar, what they better hope for is that those government employees that get laid off find jobs in other sectors so that we
Mm.
don't start seeing spikes in unemployment. And I don't really know if the private sector job opportunities are as robust because we're seeing companies laying people off. Chevron, Meta, there's a couple other companies I forget that are mentioned in layoffs. So I don't know if we're in that booming economy. I know there's jobs out there, but
Right.
the question is, will those people who get laid off in the government be able to find other jobs? So,
Yeah. I mean,
well,
I see what you're saying. Like, I think I want to go back to the point what you mentioned with Clinton, like when he did all those cuts and all the, maybe probably basically making the government a little smaller.
yep,
You mentioned that, yes, we were still in that .com, right? So money was still flowing in, everything was still doing good, everybody was able to find jobs and stuff. Now, to get back to your point, is like, would they be able to find a job? I think they will because we kind of in a similar place as back in, except now we're in the AI and the quantum age, right? So like we kind of like in that
that's true.
time right now.
That's
So
true.
could that be a perfect recipe for all this stuff that's been happening? If you work for the government, you more likely to have clearance. Some of those companies want people with clearance,
Hmm.
to go and find your clearance and all this stuff. So you might be able to find a job with the private sector a lot quicker than somebody who might not have the clearance and stuff. So
That's
I don't
true.
know.
Yeah, I when I study the pattern and I'm looking at what they're trying to do, like I completely understand it. I think
Yeah.
right now they're looking at the Pentagon, and you're going to see a lot of waste in the Pentagon, just based on their
We
audit
talk
numbers.
about that, right? It's like, how do you pay $20 for a roll of toilet paper? One roll of toilet paper. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're definitely gonna find that. They're
yeah,
gonna
they're
find
gonna
a
find a they're
lot.
gonna find a lot of waste in the Pentagon. So, you know, I understand what the process is. I understand what the objective is. My goal is that during this whole thing that they don't cause more harm than good.
Mm-hmm.
So, because, Clinton pulled it off. And again, that was the last time we ever saw a budget surplus. We haven't
Right.
not seen a budget. Now, the dot-com boom was in Clinton's second administration. The first
Right.
administration, there wasn't really a dot-com boom. But if you look at what he did and what him and Al Gore did in their plan, I mean, it's pretty amazing what they were able to accomplish in 8 years. I mean, from an economic standpoint,
Yeah.
it was pretty amazing. I think the Nasdaq went from like 750 to 5,000.
Right.
Obviously, there was a lot of fluff in there with some of these like fake companies and things like that, and that actually reverted back to the mean. But I'm hoping that whatever track they're on, that there's a process, there's a clear objective, and hopefully that they don't cause more harm than good. So that's what I'm hoping, because if we start to see unemployment spike up with high inflation, those two combinations are not good for stocks at all. So something to
Right.
monitor, something to keep in mind. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And the other thing too, I think Clinton Clinton did raise taxes on um the high earners and stuff. I don't know if
Hmm.
Trump did that.
See, Trump's not going to do it. And I think what Trump is trying to do, he's saying we're going to make up the revenue that we would have collected from the high income earners from tariffs. That's what he's trying to do. So
Mm,
he's trying to say if we can tariff people and offset the losses on tax collection, then we should get to a place where we're in a good spot. So that's his objective. I don't know if it's going to work. We'll just have to wait and see. But
it's gonna be interesting.
it'll be interesting to see how all this plays out. And again, like I said, we're still early in the year. So it's going to take at least a full quarter
Right.
of data before we're able to make any assumptions or make any judgments on what's going on. So
Yeah. 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 Well, that's definitely this is definitely something that's gonna unfold here in the next few quarters. So we shall see where we end up. Another stock that kind of like made a crazy move today, and I was like, I wanted to see if you saw it. It's Garmin. Garmin,
Garmin,
yes,
I did not see that.
they had a jump in quarterly sales because they're in the fitness and automotive and outdoor devices, right?
Uh-huh.
They had a record full year revenue of $6.3 billion. So that caused them to fly. Like I forgot, I
Oh
think they were
wow. I 12%. Wow.
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen this stock move this much before, but they are up there. I mean, all time high, I think.
Wow. This is not a stock that ever even comes up on anybody's radar.
Oh, but they reported out of nowhere and they are up, up, up. So I know they are in the consumer market also. So I don't know what's causing their stock to go off in terms of like the fitness stuff. I don't know what's going on there, but that's something that's for me kind of like was interesting. That they
Yeah,
moved that
that's
way, you know?
that's an unusual move for a stock that doesn't get any. I don't think I've ever even seen this stock on any of my watch lists. But I look at what's happened over the last year. The stock has actually been chugging along pretty
Mhm.
efficiently. And I think what we've seen is the last two earnings, we saw big moves on the stock. I
Right.
think in October, we saw a big move on the stock, a huge gap up, and then we saw another one today. So I don't know what they're getting right. That's something to definitely look into because I don't I don't think of Garmin when I think of fitness. I think of Garmin as like the
Right.
GPS, you know, company that, when you go to buy a rental car, they ask you, oh, do you want GPS? And usually they'll give you a Garmin. But, nowadays I'm like, most people have GPS on their phone, so why would anybody buy Garmin? So I wonder what part of their business is doing really well.
I don't know, man. Maybe people are doing more outdoor now because I know they do a lot of outdoor stuff also. So like
Okay, got you. Okay.
gears. So they people might be buying that stuff because the people are more outdoors now. I remember they had a store in Chicago actually, like a retail store in Chicago that I used to
Okay.
at the time. So that's another one. Um,
Okay.
the
Let's
other
talk let's talk about Intel.
yes. Intel, I'll let you kind of walk us through that whole process, man. Because I know today we're seeing a little bit of pullback. I'm kind of happy that we didn't go below the 200 EMA, so that's keeping me happy. But boy, oh boy, this stock moves like crazy. I know you start buying when it dropped down to like the $19, and then it dipped down to like 17 or something. And then from there, we just took off.
So let me see. Let me pull up the chart real quick. So back, this was 17, maybe 15, 17 weeks ago, we had a discussion about Intel and whether or not the company would be able to figure it out.
Yep.
And what I discussed was Intel was playing out or is playing out in a very similar fashion, not the exact fashion, but a very similar fashion in the way GE played out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think once I saw that they were hiring investment bankers, so investment bankers are special finance people that do things like mergers and acquisitions, they do splits, they do things to like issue equity, issue debt, help companies raise money, etc. That's what they do.
Yep.
And once they started hiring investment bankers, that was a signal to me that they're trying to restructure the company and they're going through a process what I call shedding the fat. They're looking at all of their business units and all of their revenue pieces, and they're saying, which parts of these businesses can we either sell to other people, get off our books, or maybe even create a brand new company entirely. And what we saw yesterday, we saw some news that a private equity firm was in talks in buying one of their divisions.
Yeah.
And once that news broke out, that stock went flying. I mean, we hit a high, I think it was what, 27.55.
Yep.
We're at, yeah. And I've been in the stock since it was around 18 bucks. And I was telling myself, I probably should have bought options.
Yeah,
Um,
man. I should have did like a shorter swim. Maybe I should do like a 6 month. but
mhm.
but yeah, yeah.
So what we're seeing is that they're going through a restructuring process.
Yep.
And I'm not going to say that they're done. I'm still not going to say that they figured it out. This is going to be a very long term process because number one, we still don't know who the CEO is going to be.
Right.
And number two, I think the business that they're selling off is not their main business. I think that the business is mostly in like telecommunications.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still bullish on the stock long term, but I think they're going to need the right leadership for them to make a complete turnaround. And what I did like is that they broke above the 200-day EMA for the first time since July, and that level did hold today, which is good.
Yep.
Um, we start dipping below that, then I might get a little bit nervous, but
They might get
um,
a sell off, whatever. But yeah.
I think with having shares, I can hold these as long as I want to, but I think this is going to take a lot of time because again, the GE story took I think maybe like 5 or almost 6 years before they were able to really, really, really turn the ship around. So
Yeah. Yeah. The only other thing that I see that's probably gonna cause another rally is if they announce when they announce the CEO and who the CEO is gonna be. I think that's
mhm.
what's gonna cause another rally, and hopefully we can, go back to that $30 level, $35 level. So,
Yeah,
um,
that to me is going to be the next catalyst.
yep, yep, yep. Another interesting news: Nikola finally filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. When that happened, they dropped almost 50%, dude, closing at 46 cents.
I have no idea why this stock is still trading on a public exchange because what
I,
I've been saying what I've been saying is why is this stock still trading? They basically, I mean, I think their CEO or somebody high up in the company is in jail for fraud,
yep,
and they basically had been lying since the jump.
yep. They kept showing
And
prototypes. There was no truck, nothing.
and I don't know why they were still being allowed to be traded on the exchange. And finally, they ran out of gas, and they're just like, we got to give it up. That was a company that stole a lot of people's money. I mean,
A
it
lot.
was it was basically a legal. I mean, let me pull up this chart real quick. I almost feel like it was a legal Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. And I'm pretty sure the reason why they're probably still trading on there is they're probably trying to see if they can raise more money, basically, to be able to pay some people off. I think that's probably what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Is
I
this
mean,
is
this stock was a high flyer in COVID, and ever since then, it has been one of the nastiest declines I've ever seen in the history of trading.
that's horrible.
Everything was a lie. Everything was a lie. Man,
This this is just, yeah.
it's
It makes
embarrassing.
it makes no sense.
And I don't know if did they sell any product? Did they have any revenue? I mean,
Prototypes, man. I think that's literally all they have. They just have prototypes. They didn't have anything else outside of prototypes.
and that whole demonstration they did when the momentum was kind of pushing the truck down the hill. Man, the SPAC A's, man, that was a crazy time. Crazy time. Lots of unethical things going on with a lot of executives and people looking to make a quick buck. But
Yep.
you
And a
know,
lot of people
every,
fell for it. Like a lot of people fell for it. A lot of people made a lot of money out of it. But overall, I think a lot of people fell for it.
another company that I think is headed in that direction, Virgin Galactic, if they aren't there already.
Mhm.
What is their symbol? Is it SPCE? Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah. If you go look at that stock chart, they are on a have been on a steady decline to nowhere.
Yeah, because that's the Richard Branson company, right?
I think that's, yeah, Galactic. I know they had some space tests that went through that went really well and all that stuff. And ever since then, I haven't really heard much about them. The stock hasn't done anything in the last, I mean, they did a 1 for 20, I think, reverse split, something. And even after that, still nothing, absolutely nothing.
Which is ridiculous, man.
So,
It makes
yeah.
no sense at all.
I wonder if yeah, I don't know. I wonder if there's going to be any regulation around this process in the future because
I don't know,
you
man.
so
That's an easy way to make money. You know,
I
that's a very easy way to make money, and I don't think they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna put regulations on it because as an investor, you should be savvy enough to not invest in certain things. Like
cor-
all information,
correct.
unless if they're intentionally hiding stuff, then I think there should be something done. It kind of remind me of that. There's this cafe shop that was in I think it was in China. They're cooking the
Hmm.
basically. Damn, what is it called?
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I know the name, but I forget that it's slipping my mind. But I know what you're talking about.
They were cooking the books too, and the next thing you know, the stock just took a tumble and it got removed from the Nasdaq. So it completely just got delisted. So yeah, I mean stuff like that happen all the time. That's why we do a lot of fundamental analysis where you're looking at the leadership, who's the CEO, what they have been doing, who's the team, and all that stuff, just to make sure that you're not getting duped towards a scam, basically. So
Yeah. Speaking of leadership, another company. So we've talked about, I think, over the last couple of weeks, we've talked about four companies that had fallen on hard times that could potentially start to recover. So we talked about Intel.
yeah.
We talked about Boeing. Boeing has
Okay.
made some really
Yep.
decent strides since October. I missed that boat.
Yep.
We
We
talked about
both did.
Starbucks. We talked
Starbucks
about
did well.
Starbucks has also made some progress.
Yep.
The last one that hit a low, I think earlier last week, was Nike. Now
Yep.
Nike's making a bet on Kim K and her Skims brand.
Yep.
What do you think about that partnership?
I think they're doing the right things. One, I think they're probably getting to a place where they're recognizing that they have lost a lot of momentum when it comes to the sports shoe wear because that's used to be their bread and butter. Like the Jordans and coming up with new shoes for the NBA, and the NBA was like one of their biggest contracts, and they have all the athletes basically you know um promoting their shoes and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like Nike has been in the know when it comes to like the basketball and that's their bread and butter, right? I think
Mhm.
now they do need to go outside a little bit, trying to figure out how can we partner up with other people. Kim K has a huge platform. And if you guys go look
Mhm.
at Skim have done really good over the years. Like he may have billionaire for God's sake, but it's like there's a lot of opportunity in that market. So start partnering up with other influences outside of the sport industry. I think that's gonna help them bring more attention to Nike and stuff. Bring more clientele because you might come in there for the skim, you might end up with a Nike shoes or Nike or gear or something. You know what I mean? So it's a good way to get new customers in and all this stuff because I think they do need to think outside the box. Honestly, they really, really, really need to do that. I have seen their sales when it comes down to like the shoes. They have lost a lot of ground to on cloud. I don't know if you guys know on cloud. Lost a lot of ground to on
Mhm.
cloud. That lost a lot of ground to I think it's Hoka. They lost a lot of ground to there's a lot of companies that basically came in and took over that market, especially the running market, the hiking market, the workout market. If you look at it, if you go to the gym today, you probably see few people still wearing Nike, but you're gonna see those brands on Cloud, Hookah, and a couple other ones that's in there also. So, I mean, I think it's a good move on their behalf to get new customers in the door. I'm not mad at them for that. Now we'll see how that translates into sales.
another thing I'll say too is if you look at how the Nike basketball or the NBA player shoe market has changed. We go back to the 90s, it was Reebok, Adidas, Nike, right? Those were the three. Um, Now you've got Puma, you've got New Balance,
Yep.
you've got Skechers,
Yep.
you've got I think there's a Chinese company that has Kyrie, Clay, Austin Reeves. I think is it Li Ning or Li Ning or something like that. You've got them. They have now flooded
I think
the
Under Armour is in there too. Under Armour makes
Under
it.
Armour's Under Armour's in there too. So you've got all of these other shoe companies giving shoe deals to NBA players, and Nike no longer is the dominant player, or the market is getting more saturated.
Right.
So, which is another reason why I don't see why they keep giving NBA players signature shoes. Like, I really feel like the appeal of the signature shoe has been lost. Like,
Yep.
you had to be somebody to really get your own shoe.
That's
Like, you had to be like a superstar. Um, but now it's like everybody has a signature shoe. And I wonder if they did that because they found out like Puma was giving signature shoes out, and you know, Skechers was giving signature shoes out. New Balance was giving signature. So they were like, okay, well, we got to compete. We got to give people signature shoes. And
yeah.
obviously that plan hasn't worked. So
Um,
um, I don't know. I also think that there's probably going to be a lot more growth in the women's market than in the men's market. So
that's
I wonder if I mean I think they did do a Super Bowl commercial that was all women. I
right.
wonder if that's a sign that we're going to start betting more on women athletes to help grow revenue. And to me, that's not a bad idea either.
It is not a bad idea, which means they have to invest. I think sometimes with those companies, they gotta, man, Noah Lyles actually has a really, really good um, idea that he was working on, which is how can we bring attention to track and field? Because the only time you see track and field is it's like at the World Track and Field Day, right?
Or
Or
the
the
Olympics.
those are the only 2 days. Like when they do their world tour, that's the only time you see like people talk about track and field. And then when they
Hmm.
do what Noah Lyle was talking about, how come we can't create a league where all the countries in the world we compete similar to what they do in basketball, football, and all the stuff. So it's like a year-round league, not just when we do
Mm.
that in a couple of weeks or a couple of months circuit around the world. That's it. Like, no, let's actually create a league that people can watch. You can turn your television on. You can see who's competing against who in the track and field world, right? Instead of waiting those 4 years before you can see them, or you got to go to college games to see them and all this stuff. What I think a lot of those companies need to do, like Nike, if I was Nike, I would start my own league. Like I will start my own league where I will have athletes come and compete and call it the Nike League or something. Hey, if y'all steal this shit, make sure you pay me. But honestly, yeah, create your own league and have athletes, top world athletes, come compete in it. Get other companies to advertise with you. You know, maybe not shoe company, but start collecting some advertising. Get some airtime somewhere. Do a deal with Netflix for God's sake. I don't care, but do some type of league where you can bring attention to the shoes that your athletes are wearing. You know what I mean? Now, granted, like the Jamaican team, I don't think they're ever gonna wear Nike shoes. They just go Puma. Puma got the whole market on lock.
Yeah,
You know
for
what I mean?
sure, for sure.
But still, if you created a Nike Town, in a league or something or circuit that goes for like 3 months out of the year, and you do different sports throughout the year. I mean, how much more can you put in? Like you investing in the athlete, and on top of that, you are bringing more awareness to your brand and stuff. I think that would help him kind of contemplate that the whole thing. But that's gonna require some work. You know, you have to pay everybody and all this stuff. But I think that's the only way to really like if you want to come up with something creative and new, that's probably gonna be it. You know, so
I wonder if Nike was one of the sponsors because I saw that, the WNBA players started their own like unrivaled league where they kind of play one on one. I think they also play 3-on-3 before I guess the WNBA season starts. I don't know how well the league is doing revenue wise. I know it's the first year, but it'll be real interesting to see how that starts to grow. I also heard that one of LeBron James' business partners, Maverick Carter, is thinking about starting his own basketball league. And I am wondering if that is what LeBron is going to pivot into after he retires.
You never know.
I wonder if that is what
Didn't Ice Cube? Ice Cube is the one that did the 3-on-3, right?
Ice Cube did do the what's the name of his league? Dang. Big Three. Yeah, the
Three,
Big
yeah.
Three League. Yeah. So that's another league that I guess from what I heard, it's been doing well. I heard that they were offering Caitlin Clark a bunch of bread, so I'm assuming that they have the money to kind
That's
of put
what I
up for things
mean.
like that. So,
That's what I mean. Like you have to look outside of NBA because even NBA, if you think about it, they came out with a summer league.
mhm.
You know what I mean? Because they wanted to do something in the middle when you all waiting for till the fall when basketball starts again. Don't we do a summer league and pay the winner? I think they pay the winner like $500,000 each player or something like that if they win, right? So it's like, shoot, if even NBA is thinking about creating a smaller league within the larger league, if I was a shoe company, man, that's what I'd be pouring my time into. Like create some type of
Yeah.
league where it's year round, sign up athletes in there, pay them some good money, and go with that. They can probably go with the I think they call it OTE, the high school league that we have here in Atlanta. Atlanta has like a huge
Mhm.
complex just for high school students that want to go pro, and they
Mhm.
get paid like almost $100,000 to play in that league.
Oh, oh
They get
wow.
paid a lot of. If you look them up on Instagram, it's called OTE. But create something like that. Maybe be the biggest sponsor of these guys. You know what I mean? Those are the next generation. Invest in them right now. So
Yeah.
all I'm saying, Nike, if y'all hearing this, hire me. I will have a bunch of ideas. I can pitch that to you.
And I
But
and I know that one of their biggest markets is China. So
see
um
what I mean? Like,
we'll see if they can figure it out, man. But the CEO, he's got his work cut out for him over the
yeah,
next couple of years. But I I am not on board with Nike yet. Like I'm on board with Intel, Boeing, and Starbucks. But Nike has made a pretty decent move from the low. I think it hit a 5-year low of $68. Now we're at 76. So it's made a decent move, but I'm still not sold on Nike just yet.
not yet.
Um, so we'll see how this whole story plays out, man. But I'm really interested to see if they can figure it out. I think that Nike. Here's my question: Who do you think is going to figure it out? If you're going to take a bet between those four, who do you think figures it out first?
I think Starbucks gonna
But
figure out.
I was going to say the same thing. Yep, I think Starbucks is going to figure it out first. Yeah, I like Starbucks. Then I would say Boeing, Intel, and then Nike.
Right. I think
Yeah.
Starbucks is gonna
So.
figure it out first because the new CEO, he's implementing some changes now. I
Hmm.
think there's a cultural shift for Starbucks, you can tell, and they're starting to write more. They're starting to run more ads now. So I was like, okay, so you guys are definitely changing some stuff and cutting costs and all those different things. So
Hmm.
I think they're gonna figure it out first. Um, Nike might take them a little while. Intel, it's gonna take a while.
Yeah.
Boeing,
Can it? Yeah.
Boeing started to kind of gain momentum. I think what's going on for Boeing is that they're household names, and on top of that, I mean, kind of like what we say, like if
The
you want to
duopoly.
on a plane, who you gonna go to?
Yeah.
So
You got two choices.
right, right,
And it's almost impossible. And I know, and here's another thing that I will say this I know they've got some government contracts. Boeing has government contracts as well.
Mhm.
I wonder if they're going to be affected by some of the cuts that might come
Oh,
from the
absolutely,
Doge cuts. I think they might. Um,
absolutely.
but the reason why I think that they've got consistent revenue is because all of these airline companies who have Boeing fleets, like they're not going to just uproot their entire fleet and then switch over to Airbus
Yeah, you
because you
can.
got to you got to retrain pilots, you got to retrain flight attendants, You got to retrain mechanics. You got to retrain a whole bunch of people. So once you kind of commit to a plane, you're kind
Yeah.
of stuck. So,
Exactly.
and all of those companies like Southwest who fly Boeing, and I think who else flies Boeing? I think United flies Boeing on a lot of their fleets. You're kind of just gonna have to keep ordering the same plane. So
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's gonna take them a while to figure out. But I mean, from the low we talk about, I think it was they were like at 130 at one point.
130, 130, yeah.
We have come back crazy, you know. It
Yeah.
wasn't
And I
a
think
smooth, it wasn't a smooth move to the upside, but they moved up.
Yeah, and I think Starbucks, when we talked about it in the summertime before the CEO was hired, was in the 70s, and now they're at 113. So they've made some strides.
Yeah,
So we'll just see if they can continue the momentum moving forward.
yeah. But
Trying to look.
I don't know if you have anything else you want to cover. I was gonna say if you look at futures right now, we kind of are declining. It's down a little bit, 0.37%. So we might see some slow day tomorrow. We'll see. You're gonna have a flat day tomorrow or what?
Yeah, my suggestion, and I haven't really been trading as much this week. When the market is choppy like this, there's nothing wrong with just sitting on your hands and waiting for some clear direction, either to the upside or downside, especially as we start to make new highs and we start to trade in areas where the market has not been before. So, SPY and QQQ are at new highs. We're seeing selling pressure there, but you're also seeing buyers still trying to like hold those levels. So, it's a hard environment to trade in if you're a swing trader by
Right,
nature.
right,
If you're a scalper or day trader, this is probably the type of area where you might find some success. But during times like this, another good thing that you can do is look at possibly focusing on longer term positions. So, I copped some leaps on Tesla last week, which has, done fairly well. I wish I would have bought weeklies, but um, sometimes this is the time when the market's really, really choppy to just sit down and just say, okay, let me focus on looking at building positions in good companies long term. Next week, I think people don't think it's a packed week, but we have NVIDIA earnings next week. And
mhm.
then we also have GDP and PCE next week. So
Yep.
those three things I think are going to be very, very high priority items. We also, too, possibly, again, remember Trump said that he's giving Canada and Mexico a month to figure it out, and I haven't heard any announcements about something coming into place where they're avoiding tariffs.
Nope.
So we could also get a tariff announcement on those countries next week. Um,
Yeah.
Maybe that's why people are buying VIX calls.
Well, oh, so did you hear about him trying to give everybody a check? Everybody's gonna get a check from the Doge saving that they have done so far. I guess Trump,
uh,
Elon was talking to Trump, basically asking him if they can send like a check to every single American. I think it's like up to $5,000 or something like that. So hey, we might be getting some money. And honestly, I think that's probably their way of trying to do like a stimulus to the market. You know what I mean? To get people out there buying again, buying and shopping. But I mean, if I were you guys, when you get that money, don't give it back to the government. Go stash it somewhere, buy some stock or something.
five is it 5,000 for every American, or are there income limits?
Everybody. He said that they're trying to give money to everybody. Every single American can get a check.
I mean, if you can give $5,000 to every American, you must have found a lot of waste. You must have found a lot of waste. I heard him going on some kind of rant about all of the list of items that they found of waste, paying dead people Social Security.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
that is crazy.
So yeah,
And
it's
on
because
top of that, they're starting an investigation into the money that went to Ukraine. And I can tell there's something there because the way the Ukrainian president responded, I was like, oh shit. My man did something with the money. I don't know what he did with it, but and I remember we talked about this. I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if that money's going anywhere. Like, you know what I mean? How you just show up and leave with like $800 million every time you show up? You know what I mean? So who's that money? Whose money is being sent to them and all this stuff? So they are starting to do some investigation into that. Also, I'll be very curious to see what comes out of that. You know, where the money actually went.
Yeah, they're only a month in, and if they're talking about sending everybody $5,000, they must have found a lot of things that they plan on cutting. Because 5,000 to every American is not a small amount of money.
Nope, it's not. It's a lot of money.
Yeah,
So we'll see, man. So far, it's been all talk. We haven't seen any tariffs. We haven't seen anything crazy. So this might also be all talk. So we shall
yeah,
see. Yeah, she
we'll
said,
see. He likes to talk a big game and put his chest out there. We'll see if he can deliver, man.
yeah. I mean, we'll take it if you deliver it. We'll take it. I ain't gonna complain.
I'll take a free $5,000. I'm not gonna say no to that.
Right.
Ooh,
Oh man. But yeah, man, that's all I have, guys. I don't know. I don't see any questions in the chat, but definitely appreciate
nah.
everybody's watching. Appreciate you guys watching. We'll be back again on Friday. Just some household stuff. Make sure you guys click the link in our bios and join the group, just to make sure you can be able to keep track with all these things that we're watching and Wale's list and all the different things, discussion and anything like that that's happening in the group.
I'll also say this: seeing a really nice pullback on Akalo. Got my eye on seeing if we
I
find buyers
mean,
anytime soon.
what is coming up, right? They're reporting next month.
Yeah, next month. So Akalo was down 12% today. Did not get any signals. Actually, it was down 10% today. So it's back
Yeah,
under 50. I
yeah.
did not get any signals of anything that says buyers are stepping in anytime soon. So I will be keeping this on my watch list going into tomorrow to see what we see.
The area we bounced from today. Let me draw the fib on here real quick and see where we bounced from. If we have some more drop going. No, we'll probably have a few more drop to go. If you can go down to 41, maybe around 36 area, we'll probably find
Mm-hmm.
some support there. But
Got
um, but yeah, I mean, they're about to report on what are they reporting?
I want to say March 27th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. The report next month, March 27th. So
Yeah.
if they drop before earnings, I kind of like that. You know what I mean? If they drop before earnings, I like that because we can take our puts um and roll it over to some calls or roll it up to some more shares. But
Yeah, because I'm definitely hedging. I'm hedging
yeah,
for sure.
yep. So I mean, this is predictable, man. We talked about this. Like they might be dropping going into earnings or even after earnings and stuff. So it's just more opportunity for us to jump in. And like you said, this is the way this moved. It moved a lot faster than we thought. We thought it was going to be another couple of years, but we quadrupled 500% time, 700, 800% time from the time we got in. So it's like, it is what it is. It moves a lot
Yeah,
faster.
this is a trade that's going to take a lot of patience. It's going to take a lot of patience. So, but I'm willing to wait this one out, just the way I'm willing to wait Intel out as well. So we'll
Yes.
see. We'll see how these stories play out.
Yeah, but that's all I have, man. Y'all have a good night. If you guys don't have any questions, we will see you guys on Friday.
All right, everyone, take care. See you guys Friday.